So, pulling this all together is there are some key structures in the brain that are involved in addiction we're beginning to understand. We're beginning to understand a bunch of the transmitter systems that are involved in these structures and how they change in the brain of individuals who become dependent. Dopamine and opioid peptides are key for the binge intoxication stage, but they become depleted. There are multiple ways that they can become depleted, but eventually you run out of money in the bank, your brain bank, your pleasure bank. The extended amygdala, in contrast, is a brain system involved in stress responses, absolutely critical for getting on in the world and escaping predators and everything else, or fires or whatever. But in addiction, that system gets hypersensitized. And then, if that wasn't enough, dopamine being released and other associative mechanisms, like glutamate, get involved in the memories of where you got the drug and how good the drug felt. And those cues contribute to relapse. And the part that I don't have on here is that if you loop back to the second paragraph, the brain stress system stays activated, and I neglected to mention that. So it moves into, if you will, the preoccupation anticipation stage. It sets it up such that cues in the environment become very important. So as you might expect, if you run up a tree to escape a bear, it's probably in your best interest to stay up the tree for a while. And if that's not good enough for you, think about road rage, all right? If somebody cuts you off on the freeway and you're driving and you get mad, especially males, it doesn't dissipate very quickly, right? It takes a while for that to come back down. And that makes sense biologically, but it's not a good thing if you're constantly activating your stress system during mini withdrawals or big withdrawals in addiction. So, you know, the neurobiology of addiction is not in isolation, it's in context. And as I already alluded to, there are genetic variables. You could be born with high CRF, or you could engender high CRF by environmental factors, where you grew up, where you lived. If you're in Beirut, Lebanon during the Civil War and you grow up with bombs going off all over the place, it's highly likely you're going to be vulnerable to post-traumatic stress disorder. People with post-traumatic stress disorder often get in trouble with drugs, just as an example of following through on that. And there's stress. And conditioning effects. Some of it's just learning. If you grow up and your parents are crack dealers, I think there's probably a higher probability that you're going to end up in trouble with it as well. And then here's your addiction cycle revisited. What I've argued with you tonight is that there are specific parts of your brain that are involved. They interact with each other. We're beginning to understand the neurotransmitters that are involved. And one of our major efforts at Scripps is now to try and find ways that we can tweak the system back into normalcy, return it to the homeostatic state, give it a little boost to get back there, much as you think of treating anxiety disorders or major depressive disorders with antidepressants. So, again, I don't want to get too narcissistic, but I got a great lab. The people in white at the bottom. The ones in orange have jobs, and they've left already. Simon, I would do 50 minutes, and it's 49.19 seconds, so thank you.